Welcome to the Network Build Grow podcast, the show where business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals share their stories, lessons learned, and powerful strategies for building relationships and growing their circle of influence. With Melissa Taylor, your host, each week we'll bring you actionable insights to help you build a better network and a better business. Let's dive in.
Welcome, Tami Robinson, to the show. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. And I see you are sitting there in front of the great yoga wall, which I think is amazing. Yes, for those of you that are watching this on video on YouTube, you can see that wonderful piece of equipment behind her. But tell us a little bit about Wellness with Tami and the great yoga wall and all the great things that you do.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me here. I'm super, super excited to share and talk about networking, because it's such an important component to what any of us do in this world, no matter whether we have our own business or not.
Absolutely.
So again, I'm Tami Robinson. My business is Wellness with Tami, Inc. And as a certified yoga therapist and integral associate coach, I get to help people feel better in body, mind, and heart. And I work a little bit differently than what you might see in a typical fitness studio yoga class. I tend to work one-on-one or in small specialized groups to help you build more support, stability, and ease into your body, mind, and life. I'm also the lead instructor for the Great Yoga Wall Company, which means I get to train other teachers and their students how to use the equipment safely and effectively.
Yeah, that's great. So I know that the Great Yoga Wall, it's not new, but it's not widely distributed. So tell me a little bit about the Great Yoga Wall and where people can find out about it if they're not in the Charlotte area where you are.
Absolutely. So the Great Yoga Wall, simply put, is just a system of yoga props that work together to help you decompress, align, relax, and strengthen all together. I think the reason it's not more widely known is because it's an additional component that would need to be put into a studio. And that requires additional training. And also some lineages just don't use yoga props. Some lineages really, just focus on what you can do in your body, no matter where you are.
Yeah, because I've never seen it at like a, Planet Fitness or anything like that. But that's because it needs, like you said, training. People can't just hang upside down without knowing what they're doing.
Exactly. I mean, they could, but I wouldn't advise it.
I wouldn't advise it. Yeah. So I've had the pleasure of coming over one time, and it does increase the stretch, even with kind of the normal, quote unquote, normal yoga poses. Is that one of the primary components of it, to just deepen the stretch?
Absolutely. Right. So that's one of the components. So the stretch that you get with the Great Yoga Wall employs a concept called traction, where we're working with gravity in a different way. We're anchoring the body in one place, which then allows you to stretch more deeply away from that, or even relax more deeply away from that. And it's something that you just really can't do in the center of the room in a regular yoga class. But the other component about the Great Yoga Wall that I love so much is that not only is it a deeper stretch, but it enables you to do postures that you didn't think you could do. And so that makes the poses and the practice so much more accessible for people. And that's, really one of the things that I love about it is that, a lot of people come to me and they say, oh, I can't do yoga, but here they are.
Yeah. There are a lot of kind of myths around yoga, stigma, if you will. And one of them is, I can't do that. I don't have balance. There's no way I could stand on one foot. I can't stretch. There's some of the physical myths, but there's also emotional or kind of spiritual myths and things around it. Talk to us a little bit about that and your concept of what it really is.
Absolutely. So there's a misconception that if you come to a yoga class, you're going to hear a lot about other religions or different religions than what you might be used to,
Mhm.
or that it's all woo-woo, right? Somebody said
Yeah.
that to me recently. They're like, yeah, I just never really got into yoga so much because it was a little too woo-woo for me.
Mhm.
Well, there are definitely lineages that practice that way, and it's definitely a place that you can go into the more esoteric realm of yoga and yoga philosophy.
Mhm.
However, the main structure or system behind the kind of yoga that we practice, the postures, is something called the 8 limbs, which really is about helping you uh, connect to your own sense of spirituality and religion. So
Whatever it is.
whatever it is,
Right.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. So it's eliminating the distractions in your life that keep you from reuniting with yourself
Mhm.
and with your own spirituality.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, I don't think it's woo woo. I don't think it's woo woo. I mean, I think it's like you said, some lineages might get to woo woo, but the mainstream, at least here in America, kind of the mainstream yoga isn't that way. So, yeah.
Right, right. What you see in a typical studio might not be
Mhm.
that way, but it definitely can go
Oh, it
there.
can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can
Mhm.
be. So, yeah, so you just need to know where you're going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of yoga therapy is that when you're working with someone who's curating the practice for you, you can
Mhm.
talk about that and you can say, you know
Mhm.
what, I don't want any of that woo woo stuff. I just want
Mhm.
to focus on my body. Or you can say, you know what, I've been practicing yoga for 10 years and just doing postures. I want to see what else there is. Can you help me dive a little bit more into
Mhm.
the philosophy and the spirituality behind it?
Yeah, so you can tailor it whichever way you wanna go, which is
Mhm.
great, yeah. But the
Yeah.
biggest thing is what I'm hearing is it makes you more self-aware, it makes you more present in
Yes.
your own life, and then, obviously, then you can discover what that means for you individually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we know when we're present in our own lives and when we're more connected to
Lots change.
ourselves and we're feeling better, we show up better, and that creates a positive ripple effect.
Yeah, yes, it does create a very positive ripple effect. So, tell me, we know that you go networking because 'cause you're a member of Network Build Grow and have been for a while, but what does networking mean to you and your business? Because you are a solo practitioner where you actually work with people one-on-one or small groups, like you say, curated groups, but you also actually are the national trainer or like the trainer for the Train the Trainer program with the Great Yoga Wall, which probably doesn't take a lot of networking because people buy the wall, you train them. But so let's kind of focus on the networking side of your business. What does that look like? What does that mean to you in your business?
Yeah, so really it just means showing up at places where I can share what it is that I do and what the benefits are. And
Mhm.
yeah, just being open to creating relationships, meeting people where they are, and being present for people.
Yeah. Do you find that you meet a lot of independent business owners at these networking events that you could actually, if they would just open their minds up, you could really help because they probably are under quite a bit of stress?
Absolutely. So, one of my primary interests and focus in yoga is to help you kind of decompress from
Mhm.
all of the stress that might be in your life, whether you're a small business owner and in, working as a solopreneur, or whether you're in corporate America or a high stress, high stakes
Mhm.
position in your life, or
Mhm.
maybe, you're, a mom who has a child with certain special needs or something like that as well.
Mhm.
So I really, really love helping people slow down, realize that they can let go of the hustle, even just for a little bit of time,
Mhm.
and relax and reconnect to themselves.
Yeah. So when you go networking, that's a lot to try to get across in a short amount of time with someone. So how do you normally kind of walk us through your networking practice, so to speak? Like you meet somebody, kind of walk us through that practice of how you actually get to the point where you can share with them how much you really think you can help them out and what that process looks like.
Yeah, so I love that you called it a practice because Most things like this are a practice in life. And it's evolved over time, definitely. So I think the first thing is to just smile and be warm and just get to know someone, understand what's going on for them. It's not about me sort of just like, oh, here's what I do. And, like taking over the conversation that way. I really want to get to know what's going on for someone. And that requires spending some time. So it might be, you have a brief meeting, I kind of get a feel for whether they'd be someone who'd be interested and open to what I'm doing. And if so, then, we continue with the conversation. I continue with the conversation regardless, but I'll put special focus perhaps maybe on those people who seem a little more open and interested in what it is that I do. And then, sort of just keep nurturing that relationship along the way. Eventually we might have a one-on-one meeting where we get to dive in a little bit deeper. And I always try to just be helpful and of service as much as I can, whether that's helping them feel seen and heard in the moment, or even, if they say something, they seem open and, maybe I offer them something quick that they can do in the moment.
In the moment. Yeah, in the moment. So I know that you've also done some sponsoring of some events so that people can come experience the wall. How is sponsoring a part of how you because to me, sponsorship is still networking. It's still part of that world. So how does that look for you with the Great Yoga Wall?
Yeah. So it's really about just inviting people in, sharing a little bit about what it can do. And again, meeting them where they are. Some people, they come and they see it and they're like, no way. And other people are ready. And when they're ready, just sort of, gently introducing them to what it can do. And sponsorship can look, it can look differently depending on what the event is. One other way that I'm doing it right now is to offer for nonprofit organizations that are doing auctions to offer just a free session that people can bid on and then come and try it out.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. If you network for your business, you already know follow-up is everything when it comes to growing relationships and driving success. But here's the thing. Most of us want to follow up well. We just get stuck. Staying consistent, keeping it personal, making it stand out, it's hard. That's why I use NetEffect.io. It makes follow-up simple, cuts through all the noise, and helps me stay on top of every relationship without dropping the ball. I never miss a follow-up, and honestly, my network wouldn't be the same without it. So check it out, NetEffect.io. And right now, you can use promo code NBG50 for 50% off of your first month. NetEffect.io, your secret weapon to unforgettable follow-up. Okay, so let's talk about the actual events. How do you determine kind of what events make sense for you to go to?
What events make sense for me to go to? So I think that the events where you get an opportunity to speak are super helpful. So like, for example, the Network Build Grow huddles, I think that's an opportunity to serve so people can get to know you a little bit better. It's also an opportunity for you to ask questions so that people can feel helpful to you as well. And I think that mutual give and take is part of what really helps build relationship to help you get to the point of being able to say, hey, do you want to come over and try this? Or, hey, do you want to sit down for a one-on-one? That kind of thing. So I really look for those opportunities where I'm going to meet people that are of like mind and where it's not just a mad crush of people who you get to maybe say, hi, I'm Tami and this is my business, and that's it.
Yeah, that doesn't seem very useful, does it?
No.
We call that handing your business card out like Halloween candy is not a good plan.
Yeah, I've never been one to go to those kinds of meetings as an introvert. I have to conserve my energy. So I want to make it a meaningful event.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit, because a lot of people that do networking, that they have to do networking, they know they need to do networking, identify as an introvert. And so you just said you are a little bit of an introvert. So how do you navigate that to keep your energies levels where you need them and it not be destructive to you rather than productive?
Absolutely. So I have to build time into my schedule for not being around other people before and after a meeting. So that's one of my key strategies. I also take the pressure off of myself. I'm not one of those people who goes to a meeting and says, how many people can I meet? I try to find people who are warm. I approach them warmly. I smile. And I just look for that quality instead of quantity.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, that leads us right into our rapid fire questions. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Right, first thing that comes to mind. How do you usually follow up with somebody within the first 24 hours of meeting them?
LinkedIn.
Yeah. You actually send a direct message or you just do a connection request?
I'll do both, depending on how much I talk to them. So sometimes if I just met them briefly, then I might, remind them of who I am. And, or if we had like a really nice conversation, I might remind them of who I am. If it was someone that, I think it's going to take a lot more nurturing to kind of, really get to know them and help them see how I can help them, then it might just be a connection request.
Yeah, just a connection request. Okay, great. Yeah, LinkedIn's a wonderful, wonderful tool. Do you use the normal version or do you have the pro version?
I just have the normal version.
Just the normal version. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. One more thing here. Let's see. Let's pick a good one. How do you turn casual connections, which we've kind of talked about this, but how do you turn a casual connection into a sales opportunity? What's the language that you use when you see there is a need? Because I know there's also some kind of taboo around the wellness industry in general to kind of talk about money, but how do you make that transition?
Yeah. So typically I would do that after nurturing the relationship, really getting to know them and really, giving them an opportunity even to come over and experience the Great Yoga Wall in person or to do a little bit of something together. Like if we're meeting online for a one-to-one, I'll give them, share something with them, and then just naturally transition into, if you found that helpful, I'd love to work with you. And, here's how we can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So really building that relationship solid, very solid first.
And serving first as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And serving first. Okay, great. Okay. Another question. You said you smile when you go in and you want to approach people with warmth, but what is a question that you ask or a way that you start a conversation generally?
So typically if I'm meeting someone who I haven't seen before, I'll smile, introduce myself, and then just ask them if this is the first time that they've been to this kind of an event. Like if it's a huddle, I'll say, oh, is this your first time at a huddle or a signature event, that kind of thing. But really just something, really low key to get the conversation going. I don't dive
not
in
even business related, like not even business related.
Yeah. And I think really just smiling and being warm and open is the key, because so many people, I see people go in and they're like so serious and they're like, they have that serious face look on their face. Right. And I'm like, oh, like, should I go talk to them or not? But then if you smile, it just totally breaks the ice.
Yeah, we talk about it as an approachability factor.
Yes.
Like you want to make sure that you have a very high approachability factor. And that goes from what you're wearing to your facial expressions, to not being on your phone, not sitting down, not closing turning your back to the room as you talk to other people. There's a lot of things that go into that approachability factor. And you hit the nail on the head with the smiling. That's a big one.
Exactly. I recently had someone come up to me. She ended up joining, but she came up to me recently and she said, oh, I'm so happy to see you here. Whenever I see you here, I know that there's someone that I can feel comfortable going up and talking to if I'm having a hard time connecting with other people. So you're kind of like my, person I can go to. And I just
wingman. You're her wingman.
Yeah. I just felt so honored when she said that. It was such a nice thing to say, to know that, she felt comfortable.
Yeah. So as an introvert, do you tend to also kind of notice maybe some other introverts in the room, maybe somebody's sitting down, and do you ever try to go and kind of get them involved?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that before from some other people that, like I said, kind of consider themselves a little bit more of an introvert. They gravitate to the other ones in the room. And then all of a sudden now everybody's talking.
Yes.
So that's a great thing. Okay. One more thing, and then we'll let you go for the day. But what's one common mistake that you see people do at an event?
Oh my goodness.
Other than hand their business card out like crazy.
Right. So I really get turned off when someone goes into brag mode at an event. When I'm just meeting them for the first time and I hear like it's one thing if the conversation is kind of progressing in that way where you're both starting to share more and more. But when someone kind of takes over the conversation and turns it into like oh, I've done this, I've done that, and that, like a brag fest or a pitch even right away, that's a huge turnoff for me.
Yeah, no, that's good. The name droppers get me. I've worked with this person and I know this person, and those kinds of things are very annoying.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great conversation. We'll make sure that everything gets put down in the show notes of how people can come. If they're in the Charlotte area, check out the Great Yoga Wall. And if they're not in the Charlotte area, I'm assuming they could contact you and you could help them navigate to someone in their area, wherever they live. So
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Network Build Grow podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow entrepreneur or professional. And of course, if you're not yet part of our community, visit networkbuildgrow.com to connect with us. Until next time, keep building and keep growing.